Today, I'll be analyzing Gojo Satoru and the amount of force that Gojo's red technique exerts on office building windows from the movie Jujutsu Kaisen 0. In short, the red technique's force is infinite and imaginary. Gojo's basic curse technique is called Limitless. As an object approaches him, Limitless causes it to slow down infinitely and it never touches him. His red technique is the opposite of Limitless. It causes objects to speed up at an infinite rate away from him. Both techniques operate on an atomic level and control space-time, making them impossible to recreate in the real world. Its effects on real-world objects, however, can still be calculated. Firstly, we'll take a look at the object's characteristics. Based on the information provided on the website trustworthyglass.com, we know that the window, which is 10 millimeters thick per 1 square foot, is 4.78 pounds. That means one pane, which is about 4 square feet, is 19.12 pounds. Converting that to metric units will give us 8.67 kilograms. Now that we have that down, let's move on to the buildings. For building 1, we'll assume an 8x10 layout of windows since Gojo's on a rooftop of a shorter building that's about 2 windows tall. 8 times 10 is 80 windows. Applying the same amount of mass to each window will give us 693.6 kilograms worth of window mass. Assuming gravity causes an acceleration of 10 meters per square second, we get a net weight of 6,936 newtons. For building 2, assume a 7x10 layout of windows. Doing the same calculations to this building will give us 606.9 kilograms worth of window mass, which is a net weight of 6,069 newtons. If we add up the two buildings' weights together, we get 13,005 newtons. Therefore, a force of greater magnitude is required to break them. The fact that the red technique puts pressure on the entire window pane means that the force must be even greater. The total force required to break the window can be found with the pressure formula. P equals F over A, where F is the force exerted on the object and A is the area over which the said force is applied to. Rearranging the equation gives us F equals P over A. The average breaking point of glass is about 10 megapascals, or 10 million pascals. In scientific notation, that's 10 to the 7th pascals. The area of the window is 4 square feet, or 0.37 square meters. Plugging those two values into the derived equation, we get 10 to the power of 7 pascals over 0.37 square meters, which is 3,716,120 newtons. To put this number into perspective, that's equivalent to 2 or 3 blue whales, the largest animal on Earth. Imagine throwing the whales at the buildings. Not saying you should do it in real life, but that much force is more than enough to break a window, let alone a building. Since Gojo broke 150 of these windows, that would be 3,716,120 times 150 windows, which is 557,418,000 newtons in total applied by his red technique. This isn't even the technique's full extent, as it was the curse, the monster that he blasted a hole through, that Gojo was aiming for, and that absorbed most of the attack. To answer the original question, based on previous knowledge and the knowledge we're given in this scene, the technique is able to exert a force of 5.57 times 10 to the 8th newtons. Now, let's take a look at how much force was put on the curse or the monster. It's been mentioned in Jujutsu Kaisen that curses have a weight since humans can feel their physical presence and just can't see them. We can get a general idea of how heavy the curse is based on its size relative to the buildings. A curse this big is roughly 7 stories tall. If each story is roughly 14 feet tall, that makes this curse a whopping 98 feet tall. Based on the image above, we can assume that the curse's face has a length of 2.5 windows, which is a radius of 1.25 windows, which translates to a circular area of 78.54 square feet or 7.3 square meters. As found on omnicalculator.com, it takes about 800,000 newtons to punch through someone. The average punch area is the size of an average fist, which we can calculate within average fist dimensions. By doing 3.5 inches by 2.5 inches, we get 0.005853 square meters. We can assume that the curse has a build structure similar to that of a human's but boneless, so we can treat its head as pure flesh, and simply calculate how much force it would take to completely break through that much flesh. Based on the calculations, a force of 800,000 newtons is exerted by an area of 0.005853 square meters. Now we just solve for the force exerted over an area of 100 square feet, the area of the curse's face. We should get 1.27 times 10 to the 9th newtons. Therefore, the red technique exerts a force of 1.27 times 10 to the 9th newtons on the curse. We can determine the total force exerted by the red technique in this single scene by adding them together. We'll get around 1.83 times 10 to the ninth newtons. That much force is 410,725,939.04 pounds, which is worth about 2 Nimitz-class aircraft carriers, each coming out to 204 million pounds.